Good evening, everybody, and welcome to officially episode number 1 of the Marchena Perspective. Thank you very much for tuning in. I am your host, Hector Marchena, and I could not be more thrilled and excited to have you guys tune in tonight. This will be the beautiful beginning of an amazing and incredible adventure. This is a journey that I've been meaning to start for a little while now. For some reasons here and there, it didn't materialize until tonight. But God's time is perfect. And He intended for this to be the perfect moment that we were finally going to see each other on this wonderful platform that is just beginning. So, again, thank you for tuning in. And let's jump straight to it. Okay. Let's jump right into it. I'm so excited right now. And I want to let you guys know a little bit more of who I am. Who am I? Why am I here? Why am I starting this show? These are all questions that I want to answer you, and not only answer you, but also, and this is hilarious. I've been asking myself these questions in the beginning of the production of this show, in the beginning of planning it, in the beginning of thinking about the content. What was I going to do? What was the purpose? What was the message? What was the intent? And I was questioning myself. I was just like, why am I starting the show? Why do I want to do this? So I thought it was going to be a great idea to just, let's just let you guys know why am I here, introduce myself a little bit, and maybe there's going to be some things that you guys relate to. Maybe there's not going to be anything you guys relate to, but then we can meet somewhere in the middle and we have common interests that allow us to have access to the information and the understanding that we finally want to reach as a society and as individuals. So, like I mentioned before, my name is Hector Marchena. I am from New York and I currently live in Yonkers, New York. Beautiful community, by the way. Wonderful people. Shout out to my upstairs neighbor, Jason, and his beautiful wife, Jasenia. They cannot be better neighbors. And we have a beautiful community in our neighborhood. We love where we live and we intend to stay here for a long time. This is something, this is somewhere where we feel really, really, really comfortable. And I am 29 years old, and a lot of the things that I am as a person and as a man, or at least the most important ones, are I am a father, I'm a husband, and I'm an entrepreneur. But most importantly, I'm a Catholic in faith. My faith with Christ is just one of the it's definitely the most important and beautiful and deep thing in my life, in my entire life. I love learning from Jesus. I love learning from all the teachings in the Bible. And I love learning from the church community and everything that we absorb from just like hanging out and getting into conversations with the different church groups and church communities. I feel like it's a beautiful, beautiful journey, and it's a beautiful thing to have as a priority in my life. So, yeah, I love being a father. I love being a husband. I have incredible community with my family, and this is something that really, really fulfills me as a human being. So, why did I decide to start this podcast? Well, I am currently attending Harvard Extension School, which is one of the 12 accrediting institutions from Harvard University. I'm currently attending in order to complete my bachelor's in liberal arts, and I want to do a concentration in government and legal studies. So I've always been very socially conscious. I've always been very governmentally conscious as well. And I've always been worried about geopolitics, and I've been very invested in what's happening in the world and how this affects us as a society and as individuals. So the reason why I decided to start this podcast is because there is a lot that I want to learn. There is a lot that I can share with you guys. And, in the years that I've been studying relations between countries, not only America and other countries, but also other countries between themselves. And I feel like the reason why I decided to do it on YouTube is because this is a worldwide platform and community that can just give you access to so many people from all over the world, different backgrounds, different areas of expertise, that can just jump in and I can learn from. They can teach me so many things. They can correct me in some other aspects, or they can just give me new perspective. That's why this show is called the Marchena Perspective. The Marchena Perspective, although my last name is on the name of the podcast, is not only my perspective. The Marchena Perspective is to have perspective. That is the meaning of the Marchena Perspective, that we can all nurture each other, learn from each other, and receive that feedback of information, of perspective, of broadening our mental horizons and understand what the heck is happening in this world and why these things are happening. And even if we don't understand, even if we don't know anything, and even if we don't agree, we can at least find discourse, we can at least find conversation and try to seek understanding, putting each other in, just, putting ourselves in each other's situations and shoes and background and history and all the terrible and wonderful things that have happened to us. Just like, not to what I want to create with this and what I want to build is just a platform where we don't have to discredit, or we don't become so apathetic to other person's background or experiences that we just completely discredit where we come from or their opinion, right? So this is what I want to create. I want to create a platform of understanding, a platform of coming together, whether you're from the right, whether you're from the left, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or a boy or a girl or everything in between. It doesn't matter where you come from. I want to listen to what you have to say, and I want to have a conversation with you, and I want to grow, and I want us both to grow from that. So that is my purpose with this podcast. That is my purpose with this show. That is a little bit of who I am as a person, as a man, as a husband, as a provider, as a worker. I am an entrepreneur at heart. That's why I love starting these kinds of projects. That's what I love when I'm studying and going to college for. And that's why I also love my job. A little bit or a little more of who am I professionally. I've always worked in the customer service industry, and I've also always worked on the music and entertainment industry for quite some time. Actually, I've been doing live music and performing on stage for probably 11 years now. Like, it's been a minute, and I've been in the customer service industry for just as long. So enough about me. I want to jump right into our first topic of the day. Okay. So, again, this is episode number 1. So, the topic is going to be a little short, but I wanted to make it as insightful as possible. And I wanted to kick off the channel with a topic that is very important, not only to us, I mean, to me, of course, and to you, the viewer, but also the entirety of the world, right? And is the situation in Gaza, Israel, everything that is happening. But I want to focus especially on episode number 1. I want to focus on the peace deal and the peace conversations and ceasefire conversations that are being held and have been held in the past couple of days. So, just to give a little bit of background, right? So there is this 21 point plan, which, by the way, now it's 20 because the 21st point was already addressed, which was for the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, to apologize to the Qatari authorities for the bombing of Qatar that happened a couple of weeks ago. That was already addressed. That's out of they ticked off that box. So now it's a 20-point plan. Now, what the 20-point plan entails, okay? And this is, of course, not a deep dive into the document. This is not like we're going to go point by point or anything, but I want to summarize. So what's going to happen is that Hamas has hostages. They have about 20 to 30. Israel has about 1,900. So they just want to return these hostages. Some of these hostages are alive, most of them. Some of them are just bodies that, unfortunately, they're not with us anymore, but they're going to be returned to their families for them to give them proper burial and proper cremation and proper, just grieving. And they want to say goodbye to the bodies of their sons and to the bodies of their family members that, died unfortunately because of this outrageous conflict that has to stop. By the way, I think the entire world is just tired, exhausted of watching people dying every single day. So This needs to stop. That's why I'm so excited about this peace deal, although I have my reservations and I have my observations. Number one, like I mentioned before, 20-point plan, the 21st point of the ceasefire was already addressed. Cool. Now, number the I want to jump in on the fact that the ceasefire prioritizes the release of the hostages, right? So this is the first thing. Now, in exchange for the release of the hostages, what's going to happen is that Israel and the IDF and the Israeli forces will gradually leave in phases, and this is in three phases, by the way, 1, 2, and 3. They're going to withdraw the forces from the Gaza Strip, especially the northern regions of Gaza. So Gaza is a small strip, which is basically, let's just put it here north to south. Gaza is a small strip that is basically as big as, let's say, it goes from the northern regions of the Bronx all the way down to Staten Island. So it covers the entirety of Manhattan. So that is basically the Gaza Strip. It's a very small place. Because of the intervention, because of this massacre, this horrible catastrophe that's happening in the Gaza Strip, people are secluded in the southern regions of Gaza, which is the region of Rafah that is right next to the Rafah crossing next to Egypt. So people are mostly here. Northern Gaza is completely occupied. So the faces of this deal, what they want to accomplish is that 200,000 people from Gaza are able to go all the way back to their homeland, to their homes, although their homes are not there anymore, which is, it's really sad. It's very saddening. It's terrible. What is happening here? The ground is completely leveled. The ground is it's devastated. The level of devastation that I see every single day on social media, on X, on YouTube, is just it pains my soul. It's that bad. So I don't know exactly where these people are going to return to, but let me tell you something about Palestinians. Something that I've noticed about Palestinians from all the street interviews and everything that's happening is that these people, in the good sense, are the most stubborn people on the planet. They really want to go back to their houses that bad. They don't care if they have to go from Rafah all the way to central Gaza or North Gaza. They don't care if in the place of where their homes used to be, there's only dust and rubble. They don't care. They just want to go back to their houses. And if they have to rebuild from scratch, from zero, they will. These people are that determined to go back to their houses. Now, what makes me uncomfortable about this plan is essentially two things. Number one, being the most important, there is no specific time frame for the Israeli forces to withdraw their military from Gaza. That makes me incredibly uncomfortable because I feel that this is the most, I could call it the most delicate ceasefire that I've seen. And by the way, over 1,000 ceasefires have been broken before in this region, by the way. Remember, guys, I'm not going to go on the whole story of the conflict, but the first armed conflict between these two countries was actually in 1967. Obviously, the discontentment started in 1948 with the creation of the State of Israel. Obviously, 700 to 800,000 Palestinians were displaced with the creation of the State of Israel, which, by the way, all this region was completely occupied by Britain at the time. They made the promises to the Palestinians and to the Israelis, to both sides, that they were going to give them their homes. They did deoccupied the land. The Israelis moved in from Europe and all over the world, escaping the Holocaust and the atrocities and the prosecution under the premise that they were going to be safe. But then the Palestinians were there, they were displaced, and then both of them are there. There was no clear understanding, no clear map pointing of who was gonna be where, and which group of people was going to be where the best West Bank was, and how big Gaza was. It was horrible. So they did a mess so big that this is the time that 80 years roughly afterwards, we're still dealing with the repercussions of how poorly this was managed. So it makes me really sad that in 1967, we saw the occupation of the West Bank, and then it all went from there. Hamas got elected in the year 2005. A lot of people think that Hamas is only a terrorist group, which they are. We're clear on that. Even a lot of people in Palestine actually recognize them as such, but they were democratically elected in 2005, initially as a resistance group, yada, 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 yada. We know the story. Now, what makes me incredibly uncomfortable about this deal is that there's not a specific time frame for the Israeli forces to withdraw. And the reason why that makes me uncomfortable is because I feel that the deal can be broken at any time and there would still be Israeli forces within the country, which it's a big problem. So what I wanted to see on this deal was more of the Israeli forces are going to leave in three phases. The first phase is going to be this many people are going to leave within 30 days. This many soldiers are going to leave within 60. And then by 90-day time period, they're all going to be gone. That's what I wanted to see. Unfortunately, that is not the case. I don't know really what happened behind the scenes or what was the disconnect on the redaction of the document. But unfortunately, we don't have a specific time. That's what we got to deal with as of right now. Let's see where that's going to go. Let's see what's going to happen. I really want to see a specific time frame that would make my soul appeased. It will make me be at peace with the fact that they will honor the ceasefire and they will honor the withdrawal of the military forces, the IDF forces, and all the Israeli combatants that are in the region. Now, the second aspect that makes me really uncomfortable is the fact that there's going to be this interim government with Donald Trump at the head of it and Tony Blair, who's the former prime minister of the UK. This is kind of weird. I don't like this interim government kind of thing. We've seen this happen so many times with different triumvirates and different governments, especially after tyrants are, taken down and whatever. We see these interim governments from the US or from any other country or regime just like jumping in and be like, okay, so we're going to handle the situation while the country gets it together. And the guy they put in place afterwards, it's always a guy who's only working towards the interests of whoever puts him in power. So I don't really like that either. I would feel more comfortable and more at peace with a conversation of how are we going to restore sovereignty to the Palestinian people. Gaza is going to be his own thing with his government. The West Bank is going to be his thing with his government. Although, of course, it would be ideal for the West Bank and Gaza to be politically aligned and to be politically homogenous. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen anytime soon. We are working with what we have and we're working with what's plausible, not what would be necessarily ideal. But anywho, I don't feel comfortable with those 2 points. Please let me know if you agree or disagree with me in the comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think will be best for this ceasefire deal. Will we finally see peace in 2025 in the Gaza region? Will we finally stop seeing kids and women and civilians die? Will we finally stop seeing doctors and people who bring humanitarian aid into Gaza die and being held hostage and being put behind bars? Will we finally see the stop of all these drones and all this AI technology and all these Operation Lavender and Operation Daddy's Home, just killing people left and right, all these mass casualties, all these bombings, this destruction, this annihilation of the Palestinian land? Will we finally see an end to it in 2025? Let me know what you think in the comments. I am really, really hopeful that this is the end of it. The world has had enough. We have been funding, the American taxpayer has been funding this war for way too long, and other wars, of course. But this one in particular, concerns me because you guys can look it up. There is a chart that literally says that between the years 1946 and 2024, we have given from $300 to $400 billion to Israel. That's all come from taxpayer money, guys. Okay, so the average America is getting their pockets sucked dry by this war. We have to stop it, okay? And most importantly, even more important than taxpayer money, is the human casualties. The trauma that's going to come from this conflict is in the Palestinian people and the Israeli people, in everyone in this region, is going to be generational, especially the Palestinians, because they live in a strip within their strip, right? They are basically in this man-made concentration camp now because their homes are gone. So we have to do something to, number one, stop funding this, because we're funding death. And this is going to bring a very bad karma to our country. This is going to bring a very bad karma to the United States of America. So we have to stop this. People have to stop dying. They have to stop dying. This war has to finish. This war has to end. Thank you very much. God bless you.